Hi, and welcome to SVG's SportsTech On Demand. I'm Dan Daley, SVG's audio editor, and today we're with Dave Letson, Vice President of Sales at Calrec. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Very good, very good. Looks like the weather's quite nice out there over your shoulder.
It is unusually for the north of England. It's lovely today.
Well, it's a nice spring day. Let's hope we get a lot more of those.
Yeah, indeed.
Dave, let me start by asking you, what are some of the things your customers are asking you about? What are some of the things that they're questioning? What are the things that they're looking for?
Yeah, I think primarily because of the current crises, there's a lot of discussion around how they can virtualize production and do a lot of the same kind of processes, but do that from home. Like myself, most of our clients are now working from home at one form or another. And we have everything from some of our smaller products like Brio being used in people's garages to mix main sporting events to small news productions all being managed remotely using interfaces to our products that are housed in the location. So we've been in a lot of dialogue with a lot of our key customers, particularly in the sports market, on how we can move forward with sports during this pretty difficult time, and how we can move more and more into remote or at-home production in its truest sense of the word.
Literally, exactly. What about the transition to IP? Where are we in that? I mean, we're kind of in the middle of history at the moment. We're moving to IP, but we don't know exactly what the future looks like yet.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years, and actually NAB for Calrec was going to be quite a significant year because although weren't going to announce any new products as such, we did have a coming together of a number of our key AS67 and SIMD 2110 products. And it's going to be the first time we were able to show them all interacting, working on the stand. And we've put a lot of effort into coming up with a transition plan. I think the reality of broadcasters building a ground up IP facility is very rare. And what most broadcasters have to do is manage that migration. And that's quite complicated when you have baseband audio, baseband video interacting with IP equipment. You need a way to bridge those networks together. So what we have done, we've made it life more difficult for ourselves, because what we wanted to do was have most of our I/O boxes being able to be upgraded to running on IP. That's now well underway. We have the first of our major developments already done on that side. We have still a little bit more work to do. The ImPulse core, which is our new processing core for our consoles, is able to be added to existing consoles. So in other words, an existing console that's never been initially designed to work in IP can be upgraded into a new environment to really push the not just the processing, but the interaction with IP further. But I think as an industry, we still have a lot to solve. Most of all of this technology we've been working on as an industry for the last 3 years has been focused on basically creating the equivalent of a BNC cable or an XLR cable, where we have audio going up and down a piece of string. Whereas actually where the industry needs to get to now is stream management and sharing true control data between one another. So for Calrec, we are on the AIMS roadmap. We are very supportive of NMOS. We think NMOS is the way forward for a lot of broadcasters. It helps to unify discovery, which helps simplify things for customers. It is not realistic for all of our customers to sit with web GUIs and manually create streams. It's just not practical in a large broadcast environment. So things like NMOS, whether you're using Calrec software or a competitor software, or even the video routing equipment, all of those things have to have a unified format so we can truly work together. And I think that's where we're in the middle of that transition right now.
Right, right. NMOS being the most recent protocol or
Yeah,
standard, I guess.
it's NMOS is quite good because it's not only just the most recent one, because sometimes people do jump on, hey, it's new, therefore it's better bandwagon, which isn't always the case. But in the case of NMOS, it's the only one that's really specifically designed for our industry. It's really been based around broadcast equipment working together and allowing media streams to flow together. And I think that's, SIMD and other organizations like AS67 have a great reputation for coming up with these protocols. So that's an industry unifying behind one, I think, is crucial for the long-term success of AS67 and SMPTE 2110.
Yeah, we've really seen some remarkable work by the engineering standards bodies in the last few years on IP.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, there's the pace isn't slowing down. You know, we're just starting to see companies like Calrec adopting NMOS ISO 4 and NMOS ISO 5 for really that stream discovery and device discovery and stream connection management. But you know, there's already talks of ISO 8, which is device level control, and that's really the first step of true interoperability we'll get to. And so, you know, there's a journey over the next few years before we get to that point. And then beyond that, particularly with the current crises, are we going to move into more cloud-based processing? You know, there's lots of hurdles for doing live audio in particular in the cloud, just because, you know, if there's delay when you're talking on your phone, you lose the ability to speak. You know, so you do need to work without delay. And you know, so there's some still technical challenges we have to overcome. So the journey isn't ending; it's really just the beginning. And you can either look at that as a scary thing or as an opportunity, and we tend to look at it as an opportunity to show our excellence in development.
Well, if Netflix ever acquires Wired, it would make for a great film. Hey, speaking of all this, it really kind of underscores the notion that training for this is super important. And I know that Calrec had been undertaking a series of partner web events to educate the community on IP, virtual networking, at-home production, et cetera, et cetera. Can you bring us up to date on that
Yeah,
initiative?
so for the last couple of weeks, our focus has been to bring to a number of our key customers and our partners to fold out to their key customers really what we had planned to show at NAB. And a lot of that discussion is around the stuff I've been talking about, the joining of these technologies we've had the last couple of years, and sort of showing what the NMOS roadmap is going forward. And we felt that was the beginning of an education starting point. So we've done most of those now. We're doing them individually, and a lot of our clients are actually asking us to do training courses. So one of the things we've done now for one particular USOB company is some AS67 training. They wanted us to run a training webinar on that. We spent about an hour and a half going through the basics of AS67 into what our technology offers. We're fortunate that they are a great customer of ours. I'm thankful, but it gives us an opportunity to show them and some of our experience so far with AS67. And I think that's an industry thing generally. We're getting daily requests for more training on different topics, and we're trying to address all of those every day. So one of the first things we're going to do now is start, now we've done the NAB portion, is move into, okay, that's what we were going to show. This is how you use IP. We're going to do one on remote production as well. So it's really just trying to inform our partners so they can inform our customers. You know, all of our partners are getting the same questions that Calrec is directly about how do we do at-home production.
Speaking of which, well, two things actually. First up, what kind of input have you been getting from people, from engineers and talent who have been working from home, who've been forced to work from home?
Yeah, it varies a lot. I mean, I think the thing people are struggling with are the practicalities of just being at home. You know, there's particularly if you live in an apartment and you're trying to do something. You know, you've got a wife and a kid and a dog bouncing around. You know, these are real practical problems, and there's stuff that you have to overcome. What I think we've been surprised at, certainly here in the UK, is the number of shows that are moving to an online format. You know, there's been a couple of shows that have done this in this kind of fashion, on a Zoom fashion. A sort of a satirical talk show has done this, and that's been quite a different challenge, doing that remotely. But the audio engineers are struggling the most, actually, I think, because a lot of their equipment is in the trucks, is in the studios, and you know, for them personally, if you're a freelancer, to invest in a large piece of audio equipment to do the kind of shows they need to be able to do is quite difficult. So what we have seen is an uptake in some of our smaller products so they can do some work from home. And I mentioned that right at the beginning. There's one freelancer in the UK who has a Brio in his garage, and he set himself up basically an audio control room in his garage, and is helping one of the broadcasters in the UK with live mixing. And that's unprecedented. We wouldn't even consider doing that 3 months ago, let alone 3 years ago.
Well, you've got a good base of products for that between Brio, RP1, etc.
So we're starting to see some really interesting applications coming together. I mean, we have two products, both of which can be remotely controlled using a web interface. So you can dial into that remotely and use that. So this highlights one particular operation where we're actually having a local news style operation with a Type R, which is really one of our products that we initially designed for the radio market, but has really taken off in this virtualized production scenario. And that's controlled almost entirely by a Ross overdrive system. So there's no real audio mixer. The station automation is controlling the Type R. And it's getting most of its audio, pretty much all of it, in fact, from actually in this case an Evertz IP router. So all of that is routing into the Type R. And then remotely in the studio, because in this case there is still a studio, there's an RP1 which is working with some of the Hydra IO, which is not IP based, for local IFB mixes, local audio feeds, obviously the microphones in the studio, and feeding those back to the Type R in the sort of the control room side in the location where all of the equipment is. So it's a completely different workflow than we've been used to. And this is something we were working on before the COVID, but it's becoming what almost every one of our clients is trying to achieve in some format. Some of the elements change, but the concept is the same. You still need to deal with local IFB mixes, but now you need virtualized mixing consoles at the other end. So we need to tie those things together. And I think as an industry, this is the sort of thing that we're going to see more and more broadcasters adopting. And I think broadcast may change a little bit after this crisis, because people are going to now worry about the next one, and understandably. You know, this is not a regular event by any means, but, you know, we have to protect our businesses, and broadcasters have to protect their revenue. So they need to continue to find a way to operate.
Just to wrap up, what is the future? What do you see happening in the next year, given the kind of situation that we're in right now?
Yeah, I think the next year is going to be tough. I think a lot of the broadcasters' advertising revenue is definitely getting squeezed. In Sports Video Group particularly, you know, a lot of us work with OB companies, and I think those guys are really struggling at the minute. There's no sports production. I do hope and pray that all of those will bounce back, and I think we could have a few busy months when things start to settle down. But I think going forward, things will be about equipment working more intelligently together. I think we'll be now talking more about NMOS ISO 8, where we want to share device level control, and more about remote production than ever before. It was already a hot topic. Now it will be the burning desire of pretty much everybody. And I think that's what we'll see, which for us is fantastic. I mean, it's some of the stuff we've been thinking about for a long time. But I think it'll also unify the industry. We're seeing a lot of different companies talking to each other during this time, and that's fantastic as well.
Right. There's been a lot of collaboration on every end of the operation here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Dave, thanks for taking the time with us today. Please stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you at a trade show sometime in the near future, I hope.
I look forward to it.